Good afternoon, writers. Welcome to the Norfolk Literary Prize 2022 Awards Ceremony. We are so happy to see so many smiling faces today. We have 37 people on right now, and hopefully more will join us. I am Belinda.
And I'm Katie. And we will be your hosts for this afternoon's event. So to get us started, we want to introduce and thank the sponsors of the Norfolk Literary Prize, as well as share a brief history of the contest. Our sponsors this year are the Delhi Friends of the Library, the Port Dover Friends of the Library, and the Simcoe Lions Club. Friends of the Library, or FOL for short, are nonprofit charitable groups formed to support libraries in their communities. They can be found all across North America and are completely run by volunteers. The FOL groups in Norfolk have been invaluable, and we wouldn't have Delhi's new branch or Port Dover's Reading Garden without them. The Simcoe Lions Club was founded in March 1931. The club boasts approximately 100 members and is one of the largest in our district. The Simcoe Lions Club has been a leader in community projects since its foundation over 75 years ago. All proceeds raised by the Lions are kept within the community and directed to local services. Everything they do in Simcoe stays in Simcoe. The Simcoe Lions Club's achievements continue through the years and total more than $1 million in donations. Thank you so much to both Friends of the Library and the Simcoe Lions Club for your constant support to NCPL, our patrons, and the community of Norfolk.
Now, let's dive into a little bit of the history of the Norfolk Literary Prize. So nearly 20 years ago, in 2005, there was a contest called Teens Write for Fun. That was established with the hope that it would encourage and motivate youth in Norfolk County to share their voices, thoughts, and creativity. But as the years went on, the contest began to evolve, and a lot of interest was being expressed by those younger and older who wrote for fun. So it made the contest simply called Write for Fun. While we know that a lot of people do indeed write for pleasure or fun, in 2019, we decided to rebrand the contest to honor and reflect the types of submissions that we were and continue to receive. The stories and poems being entered, as you'll hear today, were deeply personal, expressive, and speaking to larger conversations. So with that in mind, we decided to rename the contest the Norfolk Literary Prize. The contest at its heart remains true to the original purpose to encourage Norfolk County residents to share their voices, thoughts, and creativity through short stories and poetry. But now there are 3 age groups, ages 9 to 13, 14 to 17, and 18 plus. There is an opportunity to win a monetary prize for first, second, and third place within each age group, and the additional prestige of being a Norfolk Literary Prize winner.
It was our original intention to have the award ceremony in person this year, where we had hoped to have local published authors join us to share insight and encouragement. But as Robert Burns wrote in 1785, the best laid schemes o' mice and men gang after gley, meaning no matter how carefully a project is planned, something may still go wrong with it, including the weather.
And today, I think we've really done an incredible demonstration of Murphy's Law. So,
Yep. So we have decided to do what we've all become adept at doing, and that is to pivot.
But that's not to say that Katie and I don't have words of insight and encouragement to share with everyone today. After all, we do spend a great deal of time around a great deal of books. Mm-hmm. So, famous writer Stephen King said, if you want to be a writer, you must do 2 things above all others: read a lot and write a lot. I find writing to be a lot like reading in that it takes time and focus. And just like reading, sometimes we're inspired to write, whether it's by a situation or a feeling, but oftentimes it takes a great deal of discipline to make your craft a priority and to give yourself the opportunity to work every day. Sometimes discipline can get confused with punishment. Something in our brain changes when we feel like we have to do something. But when discipline is applied to one's own self, toward that very thing the self loves and is passionate about, then discipline becomes the strongest form of self-love. Writing also takes a lot of creativity. from working in things like metaphor to foreshadowing, alliteration and rhyme, tone to imagery. The writer's job is to express ideas and deliver a message through the written word in an engaging way. And I want everyone to know that the imaginations of those who contributed to this year's contest are of top tier creativity, and our judges found great pleasure reading every submission. Finally, I want to acknowledge that in addition to discipline and creativity, it also takes a tremendous amount of courage to write. From the outside in, it can be assumed that these poems and stories were entered with great ease and little consideration. However, if we take a moment to consider the amount of hours each individual spent thinking and feeling, and then writing and editing, and then submitting and anticipating the results, I think we can all appreciate the incredible investment made by our writers this year. Each person has extended part of their minds and hearts through their writing to be judged. And if that is not a profound display of courage, I'm not sure what is. So thank you to every person who entered this year. We had just under 100 submissions in total. And regardless of whether or not your name is called today, please know that each and every one of you truly are winners, and the world is better having your voice in it.
All right, so now without further ado, we enter the long-awaited moment of learning who placed this year. All submissions were judged blindly. At the end of announcing all the awards, we invite the first place winners to share their winning submissions. We will call on each of you when it's time. So we're going to start with children's poetry. In third place, Chance McMaster places third for his poem, Summer is Here.
So Chance, if you're on and you can, just say, thanks. But we'll leave a little pause after each announcement and then we'll continue on.
Okay. All right, so moving on, second place is Mackenzie Fitzgerald for her poem, God Didn't Like Us.
Thank you.
And in first place, Samantha Rixman for Wishes That Sees.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, now we're moving on to children's short stories. Third place, Aurora Tozer for A Broken Heart.
Thank you. Had like a clap track.
Yeah, we should have.
Maybe when I edit it, I'll add it in.
Second place goes to Aubrey Hammond for Starlance. And first place goes to Micah Houghton for A True Hero.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So now we're going to move into the youth category. So for poetry, we did not have a third place winner, but we do have a second place winner, who is Adea Aoud for her poem Anxiety.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And first place goes to Sarah Gurney for Walking in the Rain.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. And in the short stories, third place, we have Samantha Mannon for the story Hidden Behind Glass.
Thank you.
Second place, we have Leaf Lee Greentree, The World Ends With Us. And first place.
Thank you so much.
Oh, very good.
Yay, you're here.
In first place, we have Sydney Welsh for the story The Taste of Revenge.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we're going to move on to adult poetry. In third place, we have Jean Mottached for The Lady of the Lake.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. In second place, we have Lois E. Rourke for Choir Practice.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome, Lois. And in first place, we have Robert Cormack for The Boy Who Looked Around Corners. Okay, Going on to adult short stories. In third place, we have Matt LeBlanc for 6:10 a.m. Second place, we have Robert Cormack again for Thanks for Not Being Tragic. Awesome title. And in first place, we have Christopher Keast for Eyes of Ego. All right, congratulations to everyone. Winners, you are invited to pick up your checks, certificates, and booklets at the Simcoe branch on Tuesday and Thursday this week so Belinda can take your photos. So that's what the booklet looks like. And then this is what a certificate will look like.
All right, so now it's time to move to a different part of the award ceremony, and it's time to announce the Laureate Award for this year's contest as selected by John B. Lee. So a little bit about John. In 2005, John B. Lee was inducted as Poet Laureate for Brantford, and in 2011, he was appointed Poet Laureate for Norfolk County, becoming Honorary Poet Laureate of Norfolk County for life in 2015. Every year, Mr. Lee selects what he thinks is the best piece of writing from all of the submissions entered. The winner gets the honor of holding the title of Laureate for the year and receives a personalized glass trophy, like this.
Unfortunately, Mr. Lee couldn't join us today, so I will announce the winner, as well as 3 honorary mentions that are worthy of recognition. So, honorable mention number 3 goes to Karazina Schiavone, I hope I said your name right, for her poem, I Want to Fall in Love with You. Honorable mention number 2 goes to Patricia Jefferson for her short story, A Crazy Old Broad, also a great title. And honorable mention number 1 goes to Teresa McDonald's short story, An Idiot's Guide to Running Out of Time. Also a great title.
So many great titles this year.
And this year's laureate winner is David Beckett for his poem, Imagine. So congratulations, David.
All right. So now we will hear from the winners that are in attendance today. So we're going to start at the beginning with our children's age group, poetry and then short story, and then on to youth and adult. And we'll conclude with this year's laureate winner. So we'll start with Samantha Rixman.
Okay, my poem was called Wishes That Seize. I wish I was skinny, I wish I was pretty, some of which wishes calls illness and pity. You're such a pick-me, you're trying too hard, causing us girls to keep up our guard, to look in the mirror and think, this cannot be me. I wish that these voices would let me be free. I wish that this skirt would already fit me. If I don't eat, then will I be pretty? I wish, this truly cannot be. All these amazing girls not seeing their beauty? Today's glamour standards are truly absurd. Just because of your size, you shouldn't have to feel awkward. So take off your frown and polish your crown, because the only wish I make is that beauty standards fall to the ground.
Way to go.
Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And now next is Micah.
Do I have to read all of it, or can I just read a small section of it?
Definitely just a small section.
Okay. Okay, let me just find it. Jackson Grider it's called A True Hero. It starts with, Jackson Grider was having a nightmare. He was in a tunnel. It had red utility lights placed evenly along the wall. There was water flowing along the bottom. He could hear sounds, machinery, beeping, all sorts of sounds. In front of him was a steel access hatch with the word danger emblazoned across it in red letters. Then the hatch opened, and he found himself in a huge cylindrical room. Catwalks and scaffolding ran all across the room. An automated voice echoed through the room from hidden loudspeakers. Initiating final countdown. The voice began counting down from 10. A whirring sound began to speed up, getting louder and louder. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jackson awoke with the start. The room was shaking. Earthquake! Jackson scrambled to his feet as the shaking subsided. He felt a strange tingling sensation and a ringing in his ears. Figuring the earthquake had done it, he ignored it. What was that dream? He wondered. He headed downstairs, expecting the smell of bacon and eggs to come drifting towards him. Instead, he was met with nothing. He shrugged. Oh well, his parents might be sleeping in today. He made himself a bowl of cereal and turned on the news. Well, tried to turn on the news. No matter what channel he tried, he was met with static. Then he realized it. There was no sound anywhere. No dogs barking, no cars honking. He unlocked the door and peered into the deserted street. There was nothing unusual except the silence. He retreated back into the house, locking the door behind him. He wasn't scared, but there was an eerie feeling in the air. He walked down to the hall to his parents' bedroom. He eased open the door and peered into the darkness. There was no one in the bed. He opened the door to let more light in. There was no one.
I'm so excited that these will be available also if people want to purchase additional copies or check it out from the library too if you want to hear the rest of the stories that are being shared today and read other things. Okay, so next, Sarah Gurney, if you want to share your poem.
Okay, so it was called Walking in the Rain, and it says, why is the world still spinning? The sky is falling, the ground is splitting directly under my feet, yet they continue walking. Nothing feels the same anymore. Down is up and left is right, and the clouds are always overcast, but the rain refuses to pour. No one else is carrying an umbrella. It finally rained, and I miss you. The rain will not stop. I am soaked to the bone. It feels like the world is ending, yet they continue walking. My heart is waterlogged, everything is heavy. I barely go outside, and I rain check all of my plans. It is still missing, and I still miss you. The rain has finally begun to slow, the clouds are parting, and they continue walking. Maybe there is a light at the end. I danced in the drizzle today, and I did not bring an umbrella. I am living with the rain, and I am living with missing you. The rain stopped today, and I continued walking. The flowers are blooming, the world is not ending. I remember the rain, I remember you, yet I continue walking.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sydney Welsh, can you share yours?
Okay, so mine called A Taste of Revenge. Okay, Sage was seated beside me, also leaning back to look at the sun. He did not have his eyes closed, however. Instead, he had his hands covering his face as he frowned. He turned to look back at me skeptically. You're going to get a burn, you know. I shrugged, keeping my face towards the sun. I put on sunscreen. Apparently not satisfied by that answer, Sage stood up abruptly. That made me sit back up. I frowned at him, crossing my arms. What's wrong? You always like to soak up the sun with me. He shook his head rather urgently. I'm just not in the mood right now. That got me standing up nearly just as fast. I spread my arms, confused. Why have you been so distant lately? I complained. The defeated look in his face told me he felt bad, and that was mostly all that I needed. Mostly. I wanted more of an explanation or reason. By then, that had been going on for nearly a month. Sage no longer wanted to do the things together that we used to love. He was so focused on something else, and I felt worthless. Sometimes it was like I was a ghost.
Thank you. It also takes a lot of courage to read this in front of everybody on the Zoom call, and then it'll be shared. So thank you, everybody. Robert Cormack, are you on the call? Let me look through the. If not, I can share the poem. I'm not seeing it. Okay. The boy who looked around corners. Finney O'Day was a curious kid. Looking around corners was all he did. He'd go to one corner, then one corner more, till he found himself back where he was before. Poor Finney hardly saw anything new, maybe a block, maybe two, till one day a woman stopped him and said, have you ever tried turning left instead? So off Finney went, turning left, not right, then left again to the next set of lights. Soon he was seeing buildings galore, some with 8 corners instead of 4. With each turn he made, Finney grew bolder, till he wanted to see the world's 4 corners. He sailed to China by way of Peru. He saw rock slides, high tides, and coral reefs too. He saw fish that blew up like crazy balloons and humpback whales that carried a tune. Finney traveled for years with no corners in sight, seeing wonders by day and wonders by night. Some were vast, some were strange, all 'cause he turned left for a change.
All right. And is Christopher Keast here today?
I don't see him on the call either. So if you want to share a couple paragraphs.
Okay. So the story is called Eyes of Ego. Dawning sunlight beamed in through the kitchen window, stinging Ego's eyes. At least he thought it was from the sun. News came in on his tablet that morning. Something's happening in Australia, he said, giving his wife a concerned look. Amtade, Aleka asked. He nodded. Marigos are revolting. Play it on the big screen. Ego tapped into the wall monitor. The reporter spoke. A Q07 colony began protesting before they were to undergo a cooperation enhancement. Uprisings have spread to other colonies. Sources say they've gained access to a gene file edit, granting themselves upgrades not intended for several years. World Alliance is amassing special forces on outside perimeter as a precaution. Stay tuned. Their jaws dropped. Are marigos like merry-go-rounds? Their daughter Cassie asked. Aleka said, something like that. Ego leaned in towards Cassie. More like a clever name given to robots who need to learn to get along with us humans. Where do they live? Very far away in Australia, Aleka said. Where's that? It's a big island in the middle of an ocean, far away, like Mommy said. It's where Daddy was born. You lived with the marigos? Aleka beamed at Ego, who grinned and shook his head. No, honey, I moved away right before they arrived, when I was about your age. Cassie held a quizzical look. Why do they live there? To keep us all safe until they're ready to live among us, Ego said, wanting to tell her more. About how everyone was paid to leave Australia, about how Australia was the perfect island buffer between civilians and hyper-sophisticated cyborgs that posed as a threat until their programming was perfected. Things he'd rather keep from a 6-year-old. Interesting.
Very. All right. And finally, the laureate winner, if David Beckett is on, I don't believe I see his name in the list, so I can share the poem.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Excellent. Very good.
Yeah, but I prefer if you read it.
You'd like me to read it? Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Imagine, by David Beckett. Imagine you are 11. Imagine you are standing beside a huge bell. Imagine you see no movement. Imagine the clapper striking the bell. Imagine how startled you are. Imagine the vibrations resonating through your body. Imagine it pulsating to every nerve ending. Imagine there is neither sound nor bell or only vibrations. Imagine that current is fear. Imagine trying to deaden it with your hand. Imagine putting your whole body on to stop the feeling. Imagine the silent sound subsiding, replaced by an eerie, uneasy feeling. Imagine looking for a comfortable place that doesn't exist. Imagine your arms starting to shake, then flail out of control. Imagine your other hand trying to stop it. Imagine you are in a desk and fall to the floor. Imagine the floor is terrazzo. Imagine landing on your head. Imagine a bright yellow-white light you have never seen before. Imagine the sound of horses' nostrils before the finish line. Imagine them flaring, reaching for air. Imagine the teacher yelling at you. Imagine writhing under a desk. Imagine the embarrassment. Imagine people talking about you as if you can't hear. Imagine being placed on an elevated makeshift bed. Imagine being told to put your hands at your side. Imagine thinking they are. Imagine being left alone. Imagine sitting up to lean on your arm and falling back down. Imagine realizing your limbs are paralyzed. Imagine being so tired you don't care. Imagine having slurred speech. Imagine bloody gums. Imagine headaches. Imagine always being tired. Imagine being unable to read long sentences aloud. Imagine not being able to read without falling asleep. Imagine taking medication for the rest of your life. Imagine the medication you take not working 100%. Imagine trying to ignore all this. Wow. Thank you for that. And thank you everyone today for joining us on the Zoom call, for bearing with all the technical difficulties, and and for just continuing to write and sharing your passion with not just us, but the rest of the county and the community.
Yeah. And we hope that everyone not only continues to write and submit next year, but we want you to encourage your friends and family to do the same.
Yeah, we would love to read more and more of what our community has in their hearts and in their minds. So just a little, I guess it would be kind of foreshadowing or predicting and best case scenario. We are hoping to repeat the timeline that we've kind of established the last 2 years for those who have participated the last 2 years, meaning that we're planning to launch the Norfolk Literary Prize 2023 around the end of January. And the submission deadline will be again July 31st in 2023. And then we hope to again host the awards in early November. And we just like that schedule because it gives the writers plenty of time to write and edit. And then it gives us time to coordinate sponsors and judges, as well as hopefully next year we can plan a fabulous in-person award ceremony for everyone, because Zoom is wonderful. And I'm so thankful that we are able to meet the way that we have, given all of these circumstances. But yeah, it would be really great to get all these wonderfully minded people together in a room. So anyway, that's my spiel. So just reminding winners, Tuesday and Thursday, either this week or next week, Simcoe Library, between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. if you want to come pick up your certificates and checks and the copy of the book. I can take your picture to share online and perhaps in the newspaper. Okay. All right. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of this snowy day.
See you next year.
Yeah, see you next year.